Well, hello, hello. We're back again for another Other Ink Thursday. That is the show where I interview someone who made a game that I didn't have anything to do with. And I did not have anything to do with Steamboat Willie, which is what I'm going to talk to Alex Sprague about. You're one half of Wannabe Games. Sprague. I
It
think I
is
said it.
Sprague. You had it
Sprague?
right. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Then you got nervous, and then
I did, I
yeah.
did. I
I
called attention to
yeah.
my possible mispronunciation. But
I
welcome,
tell a lot of
welcome, Alex.
people that it's pronounced nothing like Prague, and that does not help them.
Oh, yeah, I
And
had to.
thanks for having me.
I had to work through my I was like, what are you talking about? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
No. Yeah, no, that's an unhelpful thing you can do. That's like a fun thing you could do in games, everybody, is just add in non sequiturs to confuse people.
See, I said you were one half of Wannabe Games, but you're also like a paragon of a shenanigans type.
Mm.
You're just up for anything, especially if it
Yeah.
involves like asking forgiveness later. That's kind of
Mm.
your vibe, I think.
Yeah, that's that's actually super fair because I that actually like goes into where I started in games, which is I helped with modders, which
Ah.
modding games is nebulous at times, and especially was back then, which was like 2008, when
So
I
this is
was in
like
high
video
school.
game stuff?
Yeah, the first thing I ever made was a mod for Morrowind. And it was just a class that sucked. It wasn't interesting. It was way too overpowered. Um, and I had a really funny bug that I entered into the game by making it. But I released it under some name I could never remember now. And like that's the first games thing I ever technically did.
Yeah, because
So
I always like to ask like what is your games like what before that if you were making your own mods I imagine you were playing video games and stuff like that but like
mhm.
what is what's the first game that you were like I'm not talking about like playing
Mhm.
like with a yo-yo or something like that but like a
Yeah.
game that had rules and stuff like that. What was the first one of those that you were like, oh, this has rules, there's a thing that we do here? I mean, was it a video
So
game or
it would have had to have been because I think like one of the most important parts of like my life, I think, is the fact that Final Fantasy VII, my brother was playing it and reading it to me because it must have been released in what, 96 would be my guess, 96, 97.
I mean that
And
feels
yeah,
I think it may have been I think it was still being played my senior year. I remember some senior year moments of playing it, and that was 99 for me. So
yeah,
98, 97, I don't know. Something
yeah, it released
definitely.
in January 31st, 1997. I looked it up.
All right. All
Uh,
right.
but I couldn't read when that game came out. And I wanted to know the story, and eventually my brother got annoyed and stopped reading it to me. So I had to start from the beginning to play it. And in order to play this game, I had to learn to read. And like realizing I was that invested in the story, like it didn't really dawn on me the fact that like I was late to reading and it was worrying my parents a lot. And then I found something that I was so engrossed in that I was like way ahead of the game by the end of CD3. I was, reading chapter books basically because that game's so long. But like that is so horribly influential on who I am now of the fact that the first thing I ever read was fundamentally like an eco-terrorism story surrounded by cyberpunk swords and motorcycles and all that stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but that's what spoke to me. So
I mean, that is, I, I love everything about that story. I've not heard that story before. I love everything about it.
yeah.
It does seem very extremely
Mhm.
Alex to like, uh, I'm gonna like, so like, did you, I mean, obviously you're playing a game, but like, did
Mhm.
that also, because you seem to be like kind of a quick learn at most things that you put your hand to. So you're like watching the game play out and you're like, I could easily imagine that,
Mhm.
especially now, like you understand that this is like a choices tree, like there's a diagram
Mhm.
of, a flow chart behind the scenes or whatever. Did you grasp that immediately as well? Like you could see
Well,
the gears working, or was it just pure story at that point?
the story was important, but like the things about it was that the combat was kind of the most boring part of the game. but that's what my brother did a lot of. But I was like, there's an underlying like relationship mechanic with the characters that as you if you say mean things to people, they'll like you less, and then you'll go on a date eventually with a different character. There's like you own kind of a ranch in the game and get to breed chocobos in the side, and that's
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
fun
yeah.
event you could do. There was a mini game that was like an RTS in the middle of it, but it's all the side stuff that it was the first time this game was a world and not a
Hmm.
single story kind of. It felt more alive. Which going back and looking at the art of Final Fantasy VII, it's so funny to say like this really felt alive to me, and then it's like a blocky stick figure jumping around, and I'm like, and
But it I mean,
yeah, it was also modern. Yeah,
humans will anthropomorphize anything though. Like,
yeah.
uh I mean, it was the most advanced graphics of its,
Mhm.
yet, right? I mean,
Yeah,
obviously it looks 30 years old now,
yeah.
but
But
it
But yeah, no, at the time I was like, this is as real as they could ever make something.
mm.
But
uh
yeah.
so how long? Okay, so then that's there, and then you're making mods at some point with video games, and like
Mhm.
was there like a community aspect to that like as well, like you're playing other people's mods and you're uploading mods, and I'm sure you're
Mhm.
talking about like which mods to combine. I mean, was there that kind of like social aspect to it, or was it really in isolation?
There's some of that, but it was uh, uh unfortunately it also mixes with the not so PG part of my high school experience, which was the fact that one of my best friends made Flash games and he would ask us to come and beta test them. And he basically pushed me towards mods because he's like, it's a good thing to start on. And it's like, you can really learn a lot by messing around with other people's codes. But we would, from 3 p.m. to like 9 p.m., we would beta test this guy's Flash games in his house when we were in high school, our friend. And in exchange, we just wouldn't have to pay for beer that night. And then there would be a huge party there because he was the only person we knew who made money because Flash games were so big then. So like once a month we'd just have a big party and he'd use us as basically unpaid labor. But like that is so like weirdly enough that got me so involved because when the guy who buys you beer is the one making fun games, you're like, oh, anyone can do this if you just want to do it. Um, and yeah, that led me directly to originally being a computer science major in college, but I didn't continue with that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I've been doing these interviews for a couple of years, and I
Mhm.
always kind of transform my question. And like one question that's really, I think I'm developing now an interest in this question, but you just kind of answered it, where it's like who's the person who gave you permission to make games, right? Like not necessarily like actually gave you the permission, but like opened that doors of as like this is a thing you could do, right? And so,
Mhm.
I mean, there you answer that question. Like,
Yeah.
if somebody is making flash games and having you test them, you're like you just said, like, oh, anybody can do this. If this guy can do it, I could do it.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, and I think there's another answer to that, which is originally that was very much a friend of mine who's still a great game designer who while we both have shame of our high school experiences and how much of dirtbags we were, check out Porter Bytes if you like video games and flash games and wild stuff because he's still making great stuff. But and he stayed in the video game realms. I eventually though got bored of. I didn't want to sit at a computer all day every day. I do kind of do that anyway with game design, but there was an aspect of it that made me want to like I didn't want to work for a big company doing small things. I always wanted to do the creative thing instead.
yeah.
Um, and I ended up not going to school for computer science after a year or two because I realized I would get a desk job or a home desk job, whatever. Only things I wouldn't quite like. And when I had met Jess, we were playing games. She got me back into tabletop games. I'd only played less than 5 sessions in my life before meeting her. Uh, but was always such a nerd that I understood the games and had read books because I would read anything. And we went on a cruise because I was going to propose, and I figured, if it's on a boat, she can't say no. That is that's a bad joke. No, we had already agreed that it would be fine to get married before I asked because we're normal people that can communicate. Uh, it was
It's
just
good.
nice to do on the boat and make it special. Um, but we randomly went to a panel that was five people. I remember it was Chris Bedell, Elisa Teague, Keith Baker, one other person, and the guy who made Strong Bad, whose name I do not know. Um, and it was about making games and stuff. And like eight people showed up. So it's five people on the panel and eight people there. Three of the people were there to ask legal questions. And then I asked like a few questions about the law, like general. Do you think like freelance is a like reasonable like way to get into this if you have no interest in like trying to work for a big company, or like you is there a place for like this type of game, and then I don't remember exactly who said it, but someone at the panel said like you two don't need to ask questions, you need to just go start making something because you're obviously on, like you get it. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, like we don't know what's stopping you now, but it's probably just the thought that like it's too hard or
Hmm.
like you can't do it or whatever else. And we
And that was
started,
on the cruise.
yeah, on the cruise. They just said like, yeah, whatever thing you're making up that is getting in your way, it is fake. It's a thing you only believe and isn't true because you are obviously you two are obviously able to like do this if you wanted to. And we started working on a game about an hour later. So, and we were working on it on the cruise. And I
Yeah.
think since then, we probably haven't gone more than like 3 days without vaguely talking about or working on some kind of game. Um,
Yeah. I,
and that was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So,
yeah. I mean that's the I mean I assume because I know I've talked to Jess and I know you have
yeah.
I've known you guys for a few years. So like this is you've got the you did like a weekly game
Mm,
jam thing, like live stream
yeah.
game jam thing. And so I assume that's is after you got back
Yeah.
from the boat and you're
Hmm.
like, we're gonna do this for real.
Yeah.
And
Because our first idea on the boat was I still love the idea, and we're actually like getting close to making it now.
oh,
Uh, but it was I said I'm like I don't think we're good enough to make this game. Like this game seems really hard to make. It seems really involved, and it seems like it would be really good if done right. So we came up with that idea of doing the. I think we did 30 of them, but a game jam a week to make a full game, even if it's like a one page. We started out trying to make only one pagers, and then releasing it and getting out like kind of boot camping our way to like how do you work with another person and how do we get to the point where we can make a thing and feel confident about it. And if you make 30 games in 30 weeks, you'll never have a worse idea than like week 27. Like that's, but yeah.
yeah. Uh,
I also I think it's worth pointing out that Jess had already had multiple author credits by this point, so I was holding us back. She probably could have just
well,
continued on her path, but
yes. Right. It is sort of the uh, I don't know. There's such a stereotype. I mean, there's still so many like, uh, masculine dudes and white masculine dudes in this industry, and so like it is sort of like,
yeah,
oh, you got your girlfriend to play games, huh? And I know it's
God, the
the
amount.
opposite for your I know it's the reverse for your story. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm the dumb, sexy piece of meat that barely reads the games. Like everyone's always asking me stuff. I'm like, don't ask me. This is a Jess question. I'm here to add vibes. Uh,
Well, so just to clarify that, but like I wanted to I think it's like maybe more than like who's holding who back. Like I think embarking on a project like that to like watch the or not I was thinking about your podcast, which we could talk about in a second, but like the
Yeah.
it's a similar sort of thing. You
Mm.
watched all the Adam Sandler movies, one a day until you almost went mad, and you recorded it all, and that's like a set unit of entertainment, and the two
Yeah.
of you play off of each other. But like to make games together has got to be a similar sort of thing. Like you're figuring out like how to work together by making a bunch of
Mhm.
games and and perhaps more importantly, like if you can work together, if you can make 30 games when day 27 is the worst idea you've ever had and still get to the end, like you could have a whole life together, as a both a
Yeah.
creative partnership and like a personal partnership as well. I think it's an amazing process that you did.
Yeah, and I kind of wish from the beginning that I was more organized, which is like such a boring thing to care about now, but I'm like I in a lot of ways I think organization is what's holding back people in this industry more than like anything. And I mean that in a lot of ways, but like literally getting a game to print and like to a point where you want it released of if everyone had this checklist of things they need to do and then you can say to yourself this is a finished game, it would be very healthy because so many people want it to be perfect and not done.
Mhm.
And I mean, I think me and Jess's firm belief that stop worrying about it, it's time to release your game. Like let's you got 6 weeks, let's like finish it. um and it's funny because we do that to a lot of our friends of like I think healthy peer pressure of like, yeah, no, like your your game's good. Release it now. Like, what do you need to do to feel comfortable to put it out?
Mhm.
Um, which, well, we also don't believe in hustle culture at all. We're not like, you got to grind out this thing. I'm like, no, no, like it's time for you to get the dopamine you deserve of having
Mm.
completed the game.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole other branch
Mm-hmm.
of possible branch of conversation about like that
Mm-hmm.
sort of I don't know, that dopamine treadmill of like
Mm-hmm.
you got to work on something, you release something, but then like it's not perfect, so you can't release it yet because you want it to be perfect because you want the accolades, but
Yeah.
then uh you know, but then if you don't ever release it, it just becomes like an endless thing, and then you get a new idea, and then you start working on that because that's the current new idea, and then you never finish the old things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
No,
a
it's a vicious circle, but I've been I've been writing down comments. I'm mentoring someone through the Unpub program right now, and I've been writing down some of the stuff that out of context I think would be really mean to say. Um, which luckily we're on a good relationship. But I asked them, I'm like, do you think this is going to be the best game you ever make? And
mm,
they're like, oh, well, I hope not. And I'm like, well, yeah, so let's get this one out. And he's like, oh, that feels so much less stressful when you say it that way of like, your first game definitely isn't your best game. But let's get stuff out so you can like, get those reps in. I don't think anyone's like first
mm.
because I don't know if your first game's your best game, it's luck. Like it's not, which I don't think any game's made by luck, but like something changed there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, I think I like you saying you said the word reps, and it's sort of like, it's working out, like it's
oh yeah,
exercising a muscle, and like I've over the last couple of years, I've really gotten into. I mean, and we're gonna get to Steamboat Willie. It's
yeah,
eventually here, but like the game jams that you host as Wannabe Games. Like you've hosted a
mhm,
couple celebrating the end of copyrights. Like, hey, you can use Gatsby now. Great Gatsby is in public domain. You can use it. It's the Gatsby Jam. Do something with Gatsby, and like
mhm,
that kind of game jam concept. I love a game jam. I have come to love a game jam over the last few
yeah,
years, and partly from doing them, the ones that you as Wannabe Games have hosted. And I just finished one like yesterday or 2 days ago that
oh yeah,
Jean-Luc,
the Dirtbags one, yeah, yeah,
the Dirtbags one. I did that one, and like I don't know, I I don't have dirt bags. I didn't, but I read the quick start and I was like, this is good enough. I know what I want to do with like a sci-fi shooter, soldiers confronting their demons sort of game. And so I wrote it and put it out. And like I, it's also partly like I mean, there's a whole thing about layout and like I'm
mhm,
learning. teaching myself a little bit of layout and still being very bad at it, but like I got to release the game anyway because we're getting ready to go to Gen
Yeah.
Con. I don't have any more time to work on it,
Yeah.
like, and I think those sort of like, I mean, a lot of the stuff that you have said already, I agree with as far as like
Mhm.
do small projects and get them out there and because you can't, don't practice on a 400-page game, practice on a 12-page game or a
Yeah.
one-page game and then you can build up to and work on your magnum opus.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Like I
anyway,
was gonna say, just the on that is the game we made, The Means of Magic, is the same rule set technically as the one pager 10 paces we made. It is the same basic idea, but we wanted to make a test game to see, this seems like a cool mechanic, will it work? And then it did. And like, we want to make something bigger with that. How do we do that? And that was like, I think that's a way better way than trying to make a vertical slice of a game, which
hmm.
is pretty much doing the whole game. Is just, can you make a one pager that says here's mechanically how it works? Yeah, but
So I want to ask you about the game jam side of it specifically because like I've just spoken about my own like
Mhm.
of the game jam idea and like you have 30 days or you have 60 days to do this and you set yourself a challenge and you work on it a little bit every day and you either get it
Mhm.
done or you don't or I mean you can get close and then upload it anyway, it's fine. Um, but like so is it more of that are you inspired by or it's the specific because the two that I know that you've done are the or that you've hosted are the copyright related ones, which is
Mhm.
what Steamboat Willie is and what Gatsby was and stuff like that. So is it more about like that sort of like, hey, this is public now, we can use it as part of your like greater um, support of public domain and the bizarre I mean the manufactured sort of copyright
Yeah,
last forever situation that we have like I mean that's all like against your politics so like you're kind of thumbing your nose at that like now that we can use Mickey here he is on the cover of the book you know
yeah,
um it's a very deliberate choice in that respect with Gatsby and the Steamboat Willie one but like I mean, is it just the two? Is it a perfect storm, or is there more? Like, why do these game jams? I guess, and I know you were on like
Mhm.
Polygon and talking about it and stuff like that too back in the day. So, um, I don't
yeah.
know why do these game jams specifically? I guess is my question.
It's mostly a matter of trying to make conversation around stuff. Is like, I
Mm,
think, a part of game jams, and I'm not great at it yet. Of I want the Gatsby Jam to open people up to not only public domain but how it relates to the themes in this piece of art and also how people make art about IPs. Because
mm,
I'm pretty bored of like IP games in general. Like, I don't find that very interesting because they almost never say anything, and that's a thing I think uh, people should think about in their games is what's the big themes, capital T and lowercase t themes. And specifically with Gatsby and Steamboat Willie, the thing they have in common is this idea that you are engaging with the 1% horrible people, upper class, that are here to like Disney is pretty bad to small creators. And Great Gatsby was this guy who hung out with racist white supremacists and like was like, who cares, I'm rich. Like, that is, it's more fun for me to take the piss out of those groups than it is to just say like, let's make a game jam about X or Y.
mm.
um and it's mostly because of that, like, kind of just uh love of rubbing people's face in the fact that like some of these big beloved things in American culture are pretty bad, and have been gross to a lot of people. And of course, Steamboat Willie is like Disney's the big name in the world when it comes to copyright law. Like, most of our laws are based on their lawsuits, so making sure to follow up, and hopefully someone at Disney had to spend an hour thinking about like, is this something we need to like stop? And I guess we can't. Yeah, I
If
Crossed
you,
my fingers they talked about it.
maybe there'll be another uh, data leak, and you can
Oh
read their
man,
memos.
that was I can only hope. The Sony data leaks were like my favorite thing in the world.
Uh, so let's talk about the game that you
Mhm.
produced out of this because I mean you came in with a very
Yeah.
strong pitch like
Mhm.
originally as like and you did the I don't know if you even had a
Mhm.
version of it during the actual game jam
Mhm.
because that was like last January I guess so like
Yeah.
18 months ago or so, but then you immediately did like a crowdfunding for it and then like you kind of knew what you wanted it to be and then like I think it changed over the course of development into what it is and here it is and so like um I, what it ended up being is this sort of like you're supposed to draw the mouse is like this sort of invitation. Hey, draw the mouse, and then there's all these
Yeah.
like fun charts in the book that are it's a card draw based system, and you get silly prompts, and then you have to draw the mouse, and then there's increasingly onerous. Oh well, or maybe not increasingly onerous because it's all random
Mhm.
tables. They're not progressively worse. It's just always random what you
Mhm.
have to add in addition to whatever story you've gotten. So, can you survive the creative grind of doing it over the course of, in theory, 50 or up to 95 years of
Yeah.
of grinding out these cartoons. So it's a solo experience of drawing a bunch of dumb Mickey Mouse-esque characters.
Yeah.
That's what it ended up as. But like
Uh-huh.
what did I miss in there with like what other
So
things that you've got going on as far as like either rules or themes?
yeah, I think like the kind of interesting thing that you touched on that most people will not know is we finished a version of this game. It ended up being late, which we are very I think this is the only time we've ever had a late game. And it's because we made the first game based on this original pitch. And then when I sat down to play it, I'm like, it's not fun at all. Like,
Mm.
it is what it is a grind. I feel the sadness of capitalism over me. But it's not even as poignant as like a Jason Morningstar style game
Oh
where
yeah.
it's sad to play. It was just like unfun. Like,
Mm.
it could not be more like, oh man. And I'm like, well, I don't want to release this. I think it sucks. So we ended up redoing the whole thing, and now we have a fun game. And literally, I think there is, other than the fact that you draw, nothing from that original one really made it in. Because it was really called like Down the River, and it was like kind of coloring pages. Oh, it was horrible. It sounded fun in theory. In practice, it was just a bad game. Maybe that's a lesson to be made out of it. Of sometimes you just throw it away because it's bad. But yeah, the general theme of it though is supposed to be this idea of what creating under capitalism feels like sometimes. With me and Jess have lucked out that we really don't have like bad bosses in because we're able to kind of take what jobs we want because we aren't financially dependent on games to live. But certainly everyone has this experience of getting things changed or adding things to their work that you don't necessarily feel comfortable with. And in this, uh, we don't spell it out, but like some of there's themes throughout it of like if you are making a bunch of action games, you are going to like be asked to put like male dominated advertisements into your stuff. Where like that's where the like entrepreneur classes and muscle cars and alcohol start getting, or in the modern day sports betting. And then there's ones that like are normally sent towards moms and like the woman over 31 demographic. And we took all this from real life advertisement that like makes you feel bad. Like that's we were trying to like do like, oh yeah, it's if anyone looked up like did they sell pep pills for women in the 40s? Yes. It was a thing you're supposed to like they're like, oh, I'll make her clean good, and you're like, oh god, what, that's horrifying. And then there's the ones that sound like just so incredibly silly, of like a refrigerator for women, which I was like, what does that even mean? Like, what possibly could be different about this refrigerator? And I never learned what that was. But having these themes of the absurdity of capitalism when you're trying to make a like a cartoon, like it's
Mm.
supposed to be for kids and it's supposed to just be fun. Maybe you throw in some jokes that are for, like, the adults. uh but well, Mickey Mouse wasn't my favorite cartoon growing up. I watched a lot of cartoons and I really liked the creation of it, and like seeing how many people made things I really like and they're like, no, I just burnt out on it. And comic books were like that a lot too, but like, I didn't want to do this, or like I had to do more and more to keep up. And it's just like, why can't they just make the same thing that everyone loved, and we could put it out there? And instead, uh, that's the type of action that'll get your show canceled, not you canceled. It's not like, not in the
Right,
political
right.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of what you're hitting at, though, I mean, it just, you mentioned comics, and like I've got a buddy that he's putting out a comic that right now under Image, and
Mhm.
like it's like that's the whole thing with Image. And so I've been reading his comic because it's like, you know,
Mhm.
I want to read what he has to say. And but Image is, famously sort of like people
Yeah.
left the other two big comics companies to make their own creator-owned project, because to avoid the sort of like bad boss makes you put in refrigerators for women into your comic, or like
Yeah.
that. It's and of course, now that comic is Disney owns those comics, or half of the comics in the world. Disney owns them
Mhm.
too. So that's anyway.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know.
no.
I don't really have a point there. Just saying that
Yeah.
like the quest for creative freedom and stuff like that. Like Charlie Chaplin, United Artists, and all that kind of stuff. Like
Mhm.
there's always been sort of breaking with the studio system, or the biggest people to try and find that creative impetus. I don't know. That is sort of like that's not one of the roads. I guess you could do an after Steamboat Willie, where it's like if that's how you leave the if you don't get to the end, if you don't make all the cards, if you don't pull all the cards,
Mhm.
um, there's several like reasons why you can get fired or whatever. And uh,
Yeah. Fundamentally, it's
one of them you could go have a happy ending where you go off and found your own impress or
yeah.
whatever.
Mhm. And like, I think for me, the like, talking about the themes of it's funny because it sounds like the most depressing game ever is going over these. But like, what I wanted it to
Well,
be is like, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
no, I was gonna say I don't. I think you may have erred on the. You may not have had enough depression in it. Like at least in my
Yeah.
playthrough, it
Mhm.
it was all silly. Like I'm like, all right, I'll put
Yeah.
a vampire in this comic. Why not? That's just dumb.
Yeah.
It's like there was no. I never felt like it, it was all like I didn't feel sadness in it. I felt
Yeah.
like sort of like grudging, like okay, whatever. That's what this one has to have a truck in it for reasons. Like okay, I can think of a reason why there has to have a truck in it.
Yeah.
It was not. We could talk after the call. I don't want to record like ideas. Like there's some things that I think I would like. Ooh, I would like it if this, but like it's not my
Yeah.
game. It's your game.
Well, I also loved because you pointed out a few of them, of one or two of like, one of the big things is that we give the episode titles and
Mm.
the player has to make them based on those titles, which is like, it's not exactly how things would work, but it is kind of how a lot of animators had to work, um, if you simplify it a ton. But a lot of the references, I noticed that you don't have the same references as I do, and that made it so much fun to see how you took some of those. And
Right. Like
I
I'm looking at
yeah,
my stack of drawings here. I got License to Mouse. I mean, I know what
yeah.
that is, but I don't know
Mhm.
anything about High School Musical. So
Oh
how's
yeah,
High School Meowsicle is just like I don't
yeah.
know.
Which I've never seen it either, but I
I mean, I
know
know it's a
like
thing, but
Jess
I
has. But yeah, I think I said like when you mentioned, I'm like, I was just wondering if you even knew who Zac Efron was. Like, uh, but there's like, I will say like having pop culture reference is a thing that I think is important for the like cartooning stuff. It makes it feel more authentic.
Hmm.
But yeah, we were doing a lot of stuff that was like maybe people wouldn't pick up on it, and I don't care necessarily if they were, but like thinking through in ways of like how can we make copyright feel so involved in this, and it like bringing in new characters so that way they could sell toys of them. Like, yeah, it doesn't really matter to the person making it if you want me to have a side character named like Dingo Donnie, but like it is annoying to constantly have to expand a little bit. And then there's the randomization for those characters was a play on this thing called the Nemesis system from WB Games, where they have like patented a like video game mechanic that would be fun for places, but people secretly think it's way better than it actually was. They just didn't understand how it was working, so it really amazed some people. But yeah, I just put that into our game, which, you know, technically by saying that they could sue me, I guess. But if they want to say that their patent is three randomizer boxes that pump out like a Mad Lib, then go right ahead. Uh,
I mean, I think that sounds an awful lot like can't copyright game mechanics. So I think you're in the good.
that's the
Uh,
thing is they tried to they got patent instead, and then we're like, oh, it's and I'm like, shut up, you're losers. Uh, Even if
I
I
mean,
want to work for Mortal Kombat more than anything, I want to write the next Mortal Kombat like game.
you know, I think there's a gap in the market there. What's the fighting game simulator has not been well replicated in the TTRPG space. So
Yeah,
uh, I, I don't know. It was very interesting. I enjoyed going
yeah,
through it and drawing the
mhm,
cartoons. Like I'm not necessarily a great artist, but I do like to draw, and so like drawing the dumb cartoons, and then you get a prompt, and I have to put an axolotl in this cartoon for some reason. I'm like,
mhm,
all right, why not? I guess. What does an axolotl look like? And I also you will appreciate this. I think my last one that I did because you take a deck of cards and just for the people who haven't played, like you
mhm,
draw four card, you separate out the suits and you draw four, one from each deck. And you have to choose one of the four as your title for the episode. Um, and then you do some other things with the rest of the cards. But the decks only have 13 cards in them, right? So the
mhm,
maximum number of cartoons you can do is 13. So I stuck it out to the end, my 13th one, and then I got the Mouse on the Moon as the
mhm,
cartoon prompt for the last one. And so like I'm exactly the right age for that movie to have been impactful when I was in high school. And so I thought it was fitting that like sort of as the final cartoon that this theoretical cartoonist was making was this sort of like life history of Mickey, and it ends
mhm.
with like someone tearing his guts open and looking for any last comedy still inside, you know. And
Yeah,
I think that ended up being like very appropriate for my for having played the game and in that way as sort of like now I'm free as a this cartoonist.
yeah. No, that's a good one to end it on because we were trying to make like a good spread of like places people could go with those prompts, but I've gotten a lit as a I used to be a bit of a random table hater because I
Mm.
think they're like sometime like I don't use them when I'm running a game a lot of the time. They're needed for solo games, but sometimes I think that they do more to take things off the table than to put them on,
Hmm.
which it's really hard to work around that idea. Um, and like I think most games should say like pretty detailed what this game should be about and kind of pick a lane and do it because I've never played a sandbox that was great. Um, and which probably preference, but like it's it's got to be hard to simulate the whole world. Um, and this was the start of me going like, okay, I can throw some random boxes into my games because this when you combine them, stuff comes out of it that I wouldn't have thought of right away. And because I'm not just listing nouns, like we
Hmm.
are thinking about specific plots. And like I think every single one of the like powers from that you give a random character is a thing that I thought would be interesting in like a different story, or is a thing from cartoons that like I did like, from like has special armor. It's just Rhino from Spider-Man, and then starts saying a catchphrase. It's just like a funny thing a character could do,
Yeah.
um, and like gets a normal job was supposed to be in reference to the Incredibles of like the
Hmm.
main character gets a normal job.
Yeah.
I'm sure anyone could think of another version of that, but like these are like kind of classic cartoony ideas instead of you know
Yeah.
noun verb adjective.
I mean,
Uh,
there is, I mean, like with the titles already, we've got James
mhm,
Bond and
mhm,
indie darling movies and musicals and stuff like that. I mean, you're actually trying to package like the entire media
mhm.
of the entire 20th and now 21st century into kind of one little, one slim little volume.
Yeah,
You're not commenting just on like, cartoons of the 1920s with
yeah.
this game.
We
And
wanted it
that
to feel like it evolves a little bit as you're doing it, but
Yeah, absolutely.
mm,
And I think I kind of, as I was going, I kept, because you have one of the things you do is you keep track of how many years you've been at the company. And so like I
mhm,
kept track of what year that meant it was. And so sometimes
mhm,
I would kind of like, oh, well, they would totally have done that in
yeah,
1976, like that's a cartoon that they would have made in that year. I didn't do that too much, but I was kind of in my brain as like that sort of like that thing of like you're progressing through 100 years of media history,
yeah.
as well as
And the marketing is supposed to do that a lot more than the random names would. But yeah, the because yeah, you're not in 1995. You're not getting the doctor approved cigarettes. But
right, exactly.
yeah.
uh all right, well, we talked about this for a while. Is there anything else you
Mhm.
want to talk about it, like anything else you want to say about it, any final things you want to comment on, or send people one more final statement about it? I don't know, you got anything else to finish up on
Uh,
this topic?
more that it's like it's weird. I don't think we got that through enough of like uh it's a solo game where you draw in the book and we don't ask you necessarily to write anything. Um you are just living your life as a cartoonist. I took a lot of inspiration from stuff like like Papers, Please, which sounds very strange, but like that's kind of the vibe I wanted of this of like each day's this weird thing you got to do. Um and hopefully the idea of drawing doesn't scare people off because I'm notoriously a horrible like physical artist. So uh, if I can enjoy it, I think anyone could. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a good final thought, I guess, for that, because it invites you to write in the book and has I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
Mhm.
I'll show this to the camera, but how good will it actually look on the,
Yeah.
you're
Mhm.
you're
You
taking
got a
your
little desk.
notes at the top page, and yeah, it's like a set up like a desk. You've got little
Mhm.
post-it notes that tell you what page numbers you got to draw random tables from, and then you're drawing your cartoon
Mhm.
scenes below. It's neat.
Yeah.
It's very physical, very you're in it. I didn't draw in mind the first time. I think maybe next time when I play it, I'll draw it. I
Mhm.
did, loose pages that I drew on, but
Yeah.
anyway, I wasn't brave enough to
And
draw in the book.
there's also tech. If you go over to Itch, there's free those middle papers are there available to just
Yeah,
get printed too. So I know people are worried about it.
right.
So
All right. Well, I didn't look at my timer when we started, but
mhm,
we haven't quite hit our hour yet, I don't think.
mhm.
I'd like to ask you a little bit about some of your other stuff that you might be working on. I don't know if you want to At the time we're recording this, it's about a week and a half away from Gen Con 2025, but this won't be posted until after we're back from Gen Con. So in
Yeah.
between, you and Jess will have run a Dune LARP. I don't know if you want to
Yes.
talk about that at all, or is that
Yeah.
just
I
keeping it all
mean,
secret, or
there's
you
no
don't know how
secret to it. It's
you don't know how it's going to
it's
go until you run it.
I think it's going to go really well. The writing is very good as the person not doing the like writing that any player is going to see. I'm just doing the mechanics in the back, and Jess and River and Trey are doing the character writing. And like it's huge. Like that's what worries me about it. As someone who like you used to run a really busy bar and have all these people, we're gonna have it looks like about 60 people for 6 hours doing
That's
this extravagant like multi-mechanical game, and like it's Saturday noon to 6, so I'm like this is going to be for a lot of people their big event,
yeah,
and I really want to pull it off well. um but yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk about it, but I think it'd be more interesting to talk after it happens.
sure, sure. Well, we'll get
Yeah,
you and Jess on together. All
yeah,
three of you on, and we
yeah,
can do that later the after. Why not do a special
yeah,
episode just talking
yeah.
about it? But like, it's so different. And I don't know,
Mhm.
I'm kind of intimidated by the idea of LARPs because like,
Yeah,
I make a little solo game and I know that one person's going to be playing it and at their desk or whatever, or even, making a game where it's like, oh, this is, people always ask me like, how many people does this play? And I'm like, I don't know. How many people do you want to have at your table? Like I
yeah,
like to have four, five, or six basically at my table, and that's about three to six. That's what I like
yeah.
as a runner of a game. But then like the idea of having a LARP that has this many people and
Mm.
it just the sheer like feeling of being responsible for like that many people's
Mhm.
like was it 60 times 6 hours? I mean that's a
Yeah,
lot of entertainment hours that you're like putting in your hands.
yeah,
Uh
like 13 days, something
I'm
like
I'm
that.
very intimidated by the idea of that. So
Yeah,
like how do you do it? Like do you just ignore all
that
that stuff and get it done, or what do
for
you?
me, uh, that part of like I know once I get there, I can make it pretty fun,
Mm.
which is like that is hubris I have. And most of it probably stems from like A, I'm pretty good in front of a crowd, and B, I'm like I spent years running these like busy bars and making sure people were on my side and having a good time. So I think like that part doesn't strike me as much. Then I have the people I'm there with are very talented, have done this much more than me. But there is like a kind of in LARP world's idea that Dune LARPs are cursed and no one's ever done one for a good reason, which is it's really, really hard. Um, and it took me and Jess to say, we can figure it out, to get that going.
What kind of
And
elements? Oh, you go ahead talking
yeah,
about.
yeah, the elements of it though is so obviously there's a bunch of drama. That is, there's families infighting. There's general story as who's going to end up in charge of Arrakis, uh, which I'm just gonna have to go ahead and assume everyone knows what Dune is instead of explaining anything. Um,
Sure.
but more the kind of important conceit is that it happens before these books. It's like 50 years before that, so there's a few characters people would recognize, but not many, because we don't want people doing a play. Was like a big hard part of it is you
Hmm.
can't just retell the story, otherwise
You
it's not
don't
that
want
fun.
the Duke and Jessica
Yeah,
and their son and
yeah,
his chambermaid and you know
yeah. It's like the Duke Leto's father or grandfather is there, whose name is Minotaurus. What a cool name that is. Um,
it's a pretty wild
yeah,
name.
he dies from a bull in the books, I think. But yeah, so some of the like the mechanical things
That's
is there's
nominative
like
determinism right there.
yeah, uh, like the families can give out valor to other people, but it doesn't count if valor from their own house ends up with them. So it like causes people to want to do things for other families. There is this mentat game of uh, having to spend time with people in order to try to figure out what the symbols on their badge mean that are like hidden code signifiers of like if someone is hiding an illness or something like that.
Mm.
And then they have to like go meditate on it, which is go ask a GM. Technically, they could figure it out by getting 5 people in front of them that all have the same symbol and asking questions, but I don't think people will want to answer those. Um, there's another mini game where a group can go into the desert and use their separate powers to do these small quests. One of my favorite pieces is this the economy mini game of people have to send spies into the desert to get these little clues, and then on the clue it will say something like, "Oh, I have my blueprint for it. Uh, North is the least productive region overall." But then there's another clue about that says N times C equals E times S, which is North times Central equals East times South. And these are all clues that you can break down and figure out of how much each region of the desert is making in spice. And then at a certain point of every day, spice is released to the houses based on where they sent their like carry-alls. And it's like in order to then people have secrets that they can trade, and then there's an economy going on.
It,
And there's also a prophecy thing where certain people are getting dreams every night, and if you take more spice, you can walk up to a GM and eat a pixie stick, and then we'll give you a new prophecy based on who you are and your bloodlines. There's been a lot of detail to make sure we're not really getting too far into the Bene Gesserit eugenics, because that is a thing that happens
yeah,
in the
that's
books.
part of the story for sure.
So we made that into a very minor but kind of interesting thing where you can kind of play blackjack with people.
All right. I mean,
Bloodline blackjack is what's called my notes.
you've
And then
this
dueling.
is
There we go. That's all.
I mean, that's all the pieces. That's just the Sadakar troopers that
Yeah.
come in at the end and end
Yeah.
the story. That's the only piece you're missing.
Canonically, the Sardaukars are surrounding the room they are in for their party so that no one can fight unless they ask for a duel, because we did not want it to just be a huge fight. Having people just start assassinating each other right off the bat would have been pretty bad for, like, would it be a good story? Yes. Would it ruin a new LARPer's day to get
Mm,
assassinated 25 minutes into a 6-hour event? Yes. So
yeah.
we have a lot of guardrails that say like, hey, you can die if you do this. And like in the desert, I have like a 3 strikes thing of, oh, there's worm sign. You're in the desert. Oh, you can see the worm. And then when it says worm sighting, it says, I say like, hey, big notice. If you do not run away now, 99% sure you're going to die. Unless you know something that we don't, you cannot kill the worm, to be clear. It's like it said, like that's the warning is we guarantee you cannot kill the worm. And then if they keep going, I'll be like, okay, well, if you die, you die.
You've made this
But
choice.
I don't think unless someone wants to do that right at the very end as kind of a desperate moment, will that happen. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's nothing you do. And I actually think I'm missing one of the like mechanics, but like we want enough that everyone can ignore one or two of the things that don't interest them,
Yeah.
because River's in charge of casting, and like we had people fill out stuff that there's a lot of people like, I don't want to play mini games, and I'm like, well, while I fundamentally don't understand who your personality is, because mini games are the best thing in the world, like we can set that up of like, yeah, no, you're
Yeah.
someone who is
I
going
mean,
to be
some
doing
people want to
political
play the
stuff.
politics, they
Yeah.
want to have the conversations and get the secrets. Yeah.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, all of this sounds fascinating, Alex. I
Yeah.
definitely want to know how it goes. I definitely will be
Yeah.
checking in with you afterwards. Whether we record something or not is up to you, but like
Yeah.
it is
Well, if you got a black robe and you're free from noon to 6 p.m., you can walk in the room and look. Because I that actually, I think that's like the number one thing that made me want to do this is during the Ennies last year, River asked me and Jess to walk into one of their games and lose at gambling as much as possible in half an hour, because they not enough people had souls, which was the currency in that,
Hmm.
and I happened to be kind of dressed like the devil. So I went in and just started gambling with people. And as a lover of gambling in its idea, but not like in how it works in the world, this was great for me. But a lot of people were like, "Oh no, that's the devil. Like we can't be. Don't gamble with that guy. Like it's obviously the devil." And then after it was all said and done, like we had someone like come up and be like, "Oh, like thanks for coming out. Like that was such a cool planned moment to have like a demon come into my game and like give me this deal, and it really turned things around for me." And I'm like, that's what you think happened? I was the guy off the street, and River saw that I was wearing a suit so it'd work. And I'm like, that kind of like storytelling is so interesting to me.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I just
that's
love that as an idea.
I it is sort of like everyone's making their own story about like
Mhm.
what has is happening. That's
Yeah,
it's the live action part of it, right? It's like
yeah,
if you're in the headspace of the story, and then some guy with a, I mean, you had like you had a suit on, and you had like a red
yeah,
tie. It wasn't like a
yeah,
you were particularly devilly.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, no, I didn't have a red tie. I did have red tinted glasses, which is kind of devilly.
okay,
But
that is
uh,
kind of devil. That's like
a little.
maybe 15% devilly.
But
Like
yeah,
the rest of you were just in a suit jacket. But
yeah.
yeah, but that's great. That's great. I love that.
Mhm.
That's it, the inspiration, and that you've done all these
Mhm.
like things. And I mean, I I've, I've been thinking about like I've read Dune, the first one. And I'm thinking about
Yeah.
reading like maybe I'm going to read them all. That's the only one I've ever read, but I'm like, just read them all, or maybe at least reread Dune because it's been many years.
Yeah.
Uh, so it sounds like you got all the pieces, and I love to.
Yeah.
I hope it goes real well for you because that
Yeah.
sounds awesome. And
Yeah. And then we have one other LARP this year, and then I'm not writing a LARP for a long time.
well, I mean, if this Dune one comes off, you'll have broken the curse. Everybody will be making Dune LARPs. You won't have to make any more Dune LARPs.
That's true. Yeah. We'll be up to our neck in worms.
Uh, Alex, thank you so much for
All
talking
right.
to me today.
Oh, yeah.
I want to hear where people can find, if where people will see this. They won't be able to, if you're hearing this, if you're just hearing about the Dune LARP now, you missed it. But anything else that you've mentioned today, where can people get your games? You mentioned Itch. You've got a website, I bet.
Mhm.
Where do you skeet at? Like, let us know. Where can people get a hold
Yeah.
of you?
Wannabegames.com, Wannabe Games on BlueSky, Wannabe Games on itch.io. And technically, if you like game design with a vibe of nonchalantness that you really won't catch anywhere else, because we will never attempt to ever sell anything to anyone because we do not care about our own profitability. You can join our Discord, and we like talking there. And we always want to be more active there, but the world is as it is, and we're very political. So we don't want to burn everyone out too. But yeah, politically forward games is very much our vibe. And if you want to chat about it, feel free to stop by there.
Right. Excellent. It's there's yeah it when the conversations happen, they're usually good. There's a
Mhm.
it's a chill Discord. It's a lot of lurkers. It's
Yeah,
90% lurkers
Mhm.
over there.
And no pings, which is very nice. Yeah, you can
uh
drop in whenever you want.
Excellent.
Mhm.
Again, thank you so much for doing this, for talking to me today. Enjoying your I just every time I talk to you, hang out with you at a con, see your work online, like it's like you're I'm glad I know you, Alex. It's fun times to be around your energy and your nonchalantness, but also your it's like a combination of like nonchalantness, but also like very curated. Like you're like you know exactly what you're trying to do,
Mhm.
and I don't know. You're doing
Yeah,
great work. You and Jess are working together, Wannabe Games, making great stuff. So keep it up.
thanks. I appreciate that. We do try really hard on stuff. I'm nonchalant, but we try hard.
You try hard, and then when you actually have it, then you're like, oh yeah, it was just a thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
All right. And I want to thank everybody who watched this video. For all the things Alex said will be in the description. You can find them there. Thanks for watching the show. And I'm going to say what they say to just to annoy Alex. You got to like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you can get the notifications. When you say ring the bell, not the notification bell. Like, I don't know. Does YouTube actually do any of that kind of stuff? I don't know. But
Yeah.
that's what they say you're supposed to say in every video. So here I am saying it.
And yeah, to comment below
That's right.
about
That's
my
right.
worst take. Oh, wait. Do you want me?
Yeah,
I think
wish people put in the comments.
playing playing anything but a orc in D&D makes you not a real gamer. There we go. That'll
Wow.
cause some controversy. Look at
That's
those
if
losers.
you want to take Alex to task for his controversial
Yeah.
comments about D&D, get in those
Yeah.
comments and comment away. Thank you so much. Thanks, Alex.
All right.